Hey there everyone. In this video, I am going to be walking through the process of sketching when it comes to cave survey. So we're going to go through how to sketch plan and how to sketch profile and how to set up your book. Because the one thing we need in cave survey more than anything is more sketchers. There's plenty of people out there who know how to use instruments, plenty of people who know how to find point, but very few who know how to sketch. And a lot of times what you might have happen, I've had this happen several times, where I'm the only sketcher and I've got 5 other people that are there to help with the survey. Well, those 5 other people most of the time are sitting around waiting for the sketcher, me, to catch up. So the more people we have sketching, the more you can divide that up and the faster you can go in your cave surveys. And for those of you who do know how to sketch, a lot of opportunities open up in being invited on some really cool cave trips because you know how to sketch. So let's first walk through how to get your survey book set up as you begin a survey trip. So the first thing that you want to make note of well, first of all, you should probably write down the cave that you're surveying, because if you get these notes mixed up with some other, a bunch of other notes that you've got, then you're going to have no idea what cave it is. So in this survey paper in particular, there is a space up here for the cave name. So I wrote down Antelope Springs, and then page what of what? Well, right now I'm going to say page 1 of who knows, because who knows how many pages there are going to be when I'm done with this survey. But once you're done, you can go back here and you can add page 1 of however many pages you have. That way, if they ever get mixed up, then you know that that this particular survey had so many pages, so you can make sure you find all of those. The other thing that I include are the names of the individuals and their different responsibilities who are part of the survey team. And you can indicate this however you want. So I've got myself as the book, or you can say sketch, or whatever you want to say that makes sense to you and whoever's drafting up the map. And then we got John Smith doing point. We could have Dave Jones doing instrument, and maybe you put down that they're doing backside or foresight. And then Bill Wiggins, we have doing instrument as well. And I could also put an indicator there that Bill is doing backside or foresight. The other thing that you can also indicate, which I didn't include here, but is a good idea to include, is the type of instruments you're using. So I might write Suunto into instruments and tape. Or maybe you're using a brick, or maybe you're using a Disto X, or maybe you're using Suunto or Suunto instruments with a Disto. So that's good to indicate, because later down the road, if there are problems or issues or errors in the survey, you can look at and see if it was the unit you were using, if the instruments were not calibrated, if the tape happened to have been ripped or something. You can go back and make those corrections. So that's good to include as well. The other thing I put on there is the date of the survey. I think that's important so that later you can calculate the magnetic declination for that survey for whoever's entering this data in Compass, which I'll show you how to do at a later time. And then I'll put down the scale that I'm using. So here I've drawn a little bar and I've filled in the squares. Is the funnest part. You get a color in little squares. If you've got like a neurotic habit of doing that, like this can be very relaxing. I don't, but it's still relaxing anyway. So you'll draw out the scale, 0 and 20 feet. So 1 inch here is 20 feet. And then the last thing that I will put on here is the north direction. So I've got 0 up here for north, because as we're sketching, we're going to be using a 360-degree scale. So within a circle, there are 360 degrees. So 0 is north, 180 is south, 90 is, let's see, that would be east, and 270 is west. So really all you need to put is 0 and an arrow just to indicate, but I thought it'd be good to show you sort of how this works as we start sketching out our different lines on this 360-degree azimuth scale. So I think that's it. Let's see. Oh, and then what I've got here, this is just a page that I have in my book. If you're relatively new to survey, it may be a good idea for you to identify what some of the common cave symbols are. So you can see stalactite is a little triangle-y thing filled in. Stalagmite is that. Slope, and then so on, so that if you need for reference to remember what the different symbols are, you can do that. Now you might say, well, where do I find these symbols? I'll probably have a place on my website where you can download those. You can just do a search, probably for cave survey symbols. One other thing too that I'll point out is that there are some generally agreed upon universal symbols, but as long as you indicate what different symbols mean. So if you're in the cave and you're like, well, there's this new thing and I don't even know what the symbol is, just make something up and then label it so that whoever's building the map knows what you're doing. So the main thing is just communication and making sure that people know what those things mean when they're reading your notes, and later for whoever's building the map. I've taken some creative liberties to make up my own symbols, and I just make sure that in the legend on the map that I indicate what exactly those are. So I think that's it on sort of starting off here. I've gone ahead and entered a bunch of data from a previous survey trip that we did. So as you're going through the cave, you're going to write down the station here. So this is the first station, then the second station, whatever you decide to call that. And you can really call it whatever you want. In some places they use, a 1 point something, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. And then if it branches off 1.4, they'll go 1.4.1, 1.4.2. Or you can do letters. A lot of people use like an A survey, A1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you can see here I've got a Y23 and then Y23A, 23B. So any sort of system that you want to use, those are sort of the two that are most commonly used. So you figure out the station, the point person's going to write the station down and label it there in the cave, and then you'll read the distance, the azimuth, which is the direction, the compass. There's a foresight and then a backsight. And one of the things that you as the sketcher can do, who are also recording these numbers, is make sure that those numbers are 180 degrees apart from each other or pretty close. Usually the standard is within 2 degrees is how close those numbers need to be. And I'll show you here on this protractor how you can figure that out, because my background is photography and filmmaking. I am not a mathematician, so trying to do those crazy subtraction and addition in my head is really hard. So one thing that I can do, so on this protractor you can see there's 0 and it's got numbers all the way around to 360, which would be 0 again. So if someone were to call out, so there's 124, an azimuth of 124, I just rotate this wheel, I'm looking at the line right there, to 124, right about there. And then if I go all the way down here, look, there's another line right there, and it's at about 304. So whenever they're calling out the foresight, you write it down, and then the backsight should be within about 2 degrees of that. So looking here, we've got 124 and 305, which is within the range. And then you've got the vertical angle, which is the inclination, both a foresight and a backsight. These should be identical numbers if, in the dream world where everything's perfect, except for one's positive and the other is negative, because if the slope is going up from here to here, then from here to here it's down and should be the same amount. So again, it's within 2 degrees, generally speaking. So those are the numbers, you're writing those down as you go. And one other thing that I will point out here that you can do just to save paper space as you're writing down your numbers. Oh, and also you got left, right, up, down. I should explain that, and then I'll explain this little thing right here, which was what I was going to jump to. So for your left, right, up, down, typically you're at the station and you're looking towards the next shot or the next station, and then you're just calling out your left, right, up, down. You'll notice some places here there's a P, and what that means is that that is a passage. So I don't write a left, right, or up or down number. I write a P there to indicate that it doesn't and it keeps going along the survey there. So you write your left, right, up, down numbers. Now let me jump over to here. So one of the things you can do, so if I go Y21, 22, 23, 24, sometimes what people do instead is write the next station that goes to 23 down here. What you can do to save space, if you do that, then you have, so we got Y23 to 24, 23 to 23A. If I wrote 23 to 23A down here, I've skipped all this space right there, so it's just unused cells, and it's good to sort of maximize. I mean, I'm a kind of use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without guy. So I try to maximize my space. You can just draw a line right in the middle and then continue your numbers right there. That helps you to use up all of the cells here on that page. One other thing that I'll point out here too that I've indicated, you've got notes that you can make notes in the column, but also like right here, this is circled. The reason why I circled this one, and I should have made a note here, I did on the original page, is because this one, the person taking the shot had a really comfortable position, a really good shot. The person right here was in a super awkward position. It was extremely difficult. So this is like 8 degrees off, which is not okay, but he did the very best he could given the circumstances. So I circled this to indicate this was the good one. That one is probably not accurate. And then over here you can make a note. You could also, like I'll make notes on significant stations. So there was one of these, I can't remember which one, that I made a note that this is a stalagmite right in the middle of the flowstone floor is the station, and it's pretty obvious. So I'd make a note there in case we ever need to come back and recover it. Maybe the flagging's fallen off, or it's hard to figure out what the station is. So those are some things that you can write down as you're going in and collecting this data that they call out as they're actually taking the readings. Other things that you might point out as well, like there were a couple in here that I didn't have left, right, up, down, but I wrote that down after the fact. Or no, it wasn't that. There were a couple that don't have back sights. The reason why is because these are terminal shots, and so it wasn't super critical that we had a back sight. Usually you want those back sights if the passage is continuing, just in case it goes, you want to make sure it's accurate. But a terminal shot that it ends in a dead-end passage, like it doesn't matter if it's a degree or so off, or more in my mind. Okay, that's enough talking about entering the numbers. Now let's get into actually doing the sketch. So to do our sketch, we're going to just start with the plan view. We're going to focus on plan, and then we'll get into profile. So the first thing you want to do is figure out where it's going to begin from. If there's an obvious trend to the passage, like let's say that the cave is generally trending at 124 degrees, then I want to have space for the passage to continue in this direction. If I started my survey right here and I start drawing my line, well, I've immediately gone off the page. So you got to figure out which direction it's trending to give yourself the optimal space. If you don't know for sure, then I just start somewhere in the middle. And then if I hit an edge, then I start it back here. So let's say my line goes from here to here to here, and now I'm off the page. Now I'm going to draw another dot down here and continue the sketch. You know, before I do this, I should probably point out this protractor and go through some of the elements of the protractor. So first of all, you'll notice, like I showed before, you've got 360 degrees here, which 0 is north, and there's a north arrow. This protractor I think I got from probably one of the cave vendor websites, which is a good place. And this is an excellent protractor for cave sketching. So there's 0, goes all the way to 360, 180 is down here, 90, 270, which give you your 4 cardinal directions. Another thing, if you'll look underneath, hopefully you can see this in the camera, but sort of on this part of the protractor, there is 0 to 90, plus 90, and 0 to negative 90. And we'll use that a little bit later when we begin sketching the profile view. You've also got these lines right here that help you sort of see 180 degrees. And then you've got a ruler here, and this is in inches on this one right here. So, which corresponds to this paper, which is also in inches. So you'll notice that this major block here is 1 inch, and that corresponds, and each of these little dashes correspond to the little, whatever that is, probably like tenths of an inch, something like that. Maybe I'm speaking wrong. Anyway, these marks correspond to those. So it helps you try to figure out if 1 inch is 20 feet, each of these squares is 2 feet, which means that each of these is 2 feet, represents 2 feet. If I had changed my scale, then each of these would represent something different, and you'll see why that makes sense in a minute. The other thing that's cool on this ruler is this is for when you're sketching the plan view. It shows if your inclination changes. So right now you're looking at my pencil, and it's about like 5 inches long from your perspective. But if the angle changes and it's like that, there we go. Now you can see, just using the grid there, that my line from here to here on the grid is only like 2 inches as I change my angle. So the length of your line is going to change depending on what the inclination is. And this little chart right here gives you a way to convert that. For me, like, I just kind of do it in my mind roughly. It never has to be completely exact. I mean, the better it is, the better it's going to be for the person building the map later on. But if you're roughly there, then they're always going to be fudging things as they're actually working with the computerized data and building the map in the data. But what this shows, let's see, let's look at actually this one. So this shows the number of feet, the length of your line. So let's say we've got a 30-foot shot. And if it's 0 degrees on the inclination, then that 30-foot shot is the third line is going to be 30 feet, which would be like with the scale 1.5 inches. However, if I've got like a 45-degree inclination, well, now that changes the length of the shot, and this gives me a conversion. So 30 feet is actually going to be a 21-foot line when I'm looking straight down on it from above. So it helps me to try to, make those adjustments when I'm in the cave for sketching. Okay, so let's now actually go ahead and sketch our first little line. First, I'm going to start this, I'll start it right about there. This is going to be station Y21. You can draw, some people like to draw a little triangle around it. I just make sure that the dot is really prominent. And then we're going to dial in. So from there on this line right there that's at 0, let's dial it till it's 124. There we go. And now I'm going to rotate it. You notice I've got these lines right here for the north arrow. I'm just going to put this so that north is up, and it's transparent so I can look through and make sure that north aligns with these grids. I don't want it like that because it's not aligning with the grids. I want it so that these lines align with the grid, and now this is 124 degrees. So now we just put, so let's get that right about there. There we go. And I'll get a starting point. And how long is it? It's 8.1 feet. So we're using decimal feet. And the angle is 32 degrees. So it's not flat. It's probably something like this. So I'm just going to shorten it a little bit. So maybe I'll go like 7 feet. So here we go. 2, 4, because each of these gaps represent 2 feet. 2, 4, 6, and right about 7. And then I'll draw my other point. And this is going to be Y22. That should be, did I put Y21? There we go. Y21 to Y22. Okay, so we got that. Now, if I was doing, sometimes I might sketch right then, especially if this is a long shot, I'll sketch and get caught up. But I'm going to draw a couple of more lines on here just so you learn how this works. And then I'll show you how you can sketch. So I got my line. Now Y22 to Y23 is 6.6 feet at 246 degrees. So we're going to change our 124 to 246. So we're dialing that in to 246. So my line is now 246. Let's get our north arrow in the right direction. And it obviously has taken a turn, so let's make sure that this is perpendicular or parallel with these lines, perpendicular with those lines, and I've also got this little line here for perpendicular. We'll get that put right there. And 246, so 0, 180, it's got to be somewhere over in this direction, which means the line is going this direction, not that direction. That would be more close to the 66, somewhere in here. So 246 has got to go that way. So 6 feet, and it's 53 degrees, so it's going to be a little shorter than 6 feet. 2, 4, we'll just go about 5-ish right there. And then we'll draw our dot for the next station. And then we've got Y23 to Y24 is 5.9 feet at 233 degrees. So I'm going to come back up here and over here. let's take that to 233. So adjust our angle or our wheel so it's on 233-ish. Get our north arrow back over here again. Line that up right about there. And that's 5.9 feet, and the angle is 21, so it's almost the full 5.9. So we'll go 2, 4.5-ish, right about there. Okay, so we got 3 points drawn. Why don't we go ahead and we'll draw a couple more, because this is a very small area, obviously. So I'll go ahead and put a few more points on so we've got a good line plot to work with. So let's go y23 to y23a is 12.9 at 100. So we're going to come back over here. We're going to dial it down to 100 now. There we go. And that's going to be going that direction now. y22 to y23. So it's from there. And let's see. It's pretty close. Get it right on one of those lines. There we go. And let's see, what did I have over here? 12.9 feet. And what was the angle? The angle is 45, so it's going to be shortened a fair amount. 2, 4, 6, 8. We'll go about 10. There we go. And let's see, and then we've got 23A to 23B, and that was where it ended off. So that's 10.8 feet at 114, and that's actually a terminal shot, so it ended back there. But let's do 10, 114, 16 degrees. So let's see, 114. Add that in. Let's get our protractor there. 10 feet, 2, 4, 6, 8. I'll go about 9-ish right there. That's where it ends. And let's see, and then we will go, well, we might as well just finish the line plot. Well, let's just finish the line plot. 23A, so we should probably start labeling these again. So y22 to y23. y23 to y24, y23, a, y23b, and then y23a. So this one was a super tiny little fudge shot, so we could see way back over here. So it's pretty much like in the same position. I'll just leave it there because it's only 1 foot at 75 degrees, almost straight up, and so I don't need to sketch that one on because it's, like I said, it's pointless to sketch it. But let's do the next one, 23C to 23D, 29 at 206. So 29 feet at 206. Let's add in the 206. And about there. 206. It's going to take it almost straight down. So put that there. And let's see, what our angle was 6, so it's pretty much 29 feet. So we'll go 2, 4, actually I can go all the way up to here, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, and we're at about there, 29. Okay, and then we will, let's see, we got one more shot to do, and that's 15.3 at 170, 41 degrees, pretty steep. So let's dial in our 170 here. Let's see, fastest way to 170. And let's go in from 24. Get that lined up good. Those lines parallel with the other ones. And we're doing 15 feet, but it's going to be a little shorter because it's almost 45 degrees. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12-ish, maybe about that. Okay, so now we've got this whole line plot drawn out. Now you'll notice I have been a little lackadaisical in putting my stations on because as I sketch, there's probably a good chance that those are going to get, I'm going to have to like erase them in order to draw the detail. But what you can do now is, let's start with Y21. I don't have left, right, up, down there, but we do have Y22 is 3 left, 3 right, 4. So left is 3, which is right about there. Each square is 2 feet, so 2.5. And I think that's, wait, that's, that would be right over here on this side because I'm looking towards the next station. So it's more like 4 over here, and then this is the left, which would be about 3. Those little notches give me just a general sense of where the wall is as a starting point. And I can do the same thing. Let's go to 23A. So 23A, 2.54. So let's see, 4 is going to be the left, which is over here. Or that's, 4 is right. And if I'm turned around, then 2, 4. So it's right about there. And right, let's see here, left. I'm like thinking in reverse here, which my brain's having a hard time doing. Let's see, where are we at? 4, 2.5, so that's going to be about right about there. Those little notches, again, they just give me a sense of where the passage is. And I can go through next to each of these and add like little dots for the approximate left and right. And then at that point, then you just sort of sketch in the wall. So then you're looking, sitting there in the cave, looking at the wall, and maybe this goes sort of over like this, and then it connects right there. Obviously now my station is in a bad spot, so I'm going to move that. So we will draw our wall right there, and then I'll put an indicator out here outside the wall that this is Y22. Going to need to do the same thing for Y23. We will, because the wall for Y23 was 4 and 2. So right is 2, left is 4, somewhere over there. And then this is a tight passage, so it probably comes around like that. And I'm staring at the wall, and it probably comes over here. And now let's get rid of our Y24, because I think on Y24, let's see, what do we have over here? Y24 is 2, 2, so the wall is right there and right there. So it's going to come over here, but actually there's a passage that comes back over this direction. So we'll draw that, and then the wall was right there, and then maybe there's another thing that comes off over here. And then that goes like that. And so yeah, at this point you're just sort of drawing in the walls. Start with the walls, and then this goes that direction, and that goes that direction, and this goes over here to terminal point. So you sketch in the walls, and then at that point you just come back over here, reference your symbols, draw those symbols in. So, and usually what you're going to do is first you're going to look for the most significant feature. So if there's a massive stalagmite right here that is pretty much the center of attention, then you probably want to start with drawing that. And then, so we'll draw that. And then maybe there's some flowstone. It's just a big giant wall of flowstone. So you'll draw that. And then maybe there's a ledge right here where it just drops off. So I'll draw that. So you're looking at the most biggest prominent features, and then you add in the details around that. So same thing down here. And then you'll make sure that you don't leave the stations blank, because if you leave the stations blank, I've erased them, then someone who puts the map together is going to have no idea what they're even looking at here. So you really need to make sure that once you've drawn that in, you indicate your stations. 22, Y24, I believe that's 24. That's Y21, 22, 23, Y24, and Y25, and then you'll label these as well. So anyway, that gives you a good sense. I'm not going to spend all this time sketching on this because I'm not in the cave right now, and you would have no idea. I'm just making stuff up. So, but you get the sense. Draw your walls, draw your main features, make sure the stations are labeled, and then go from there. The other thing too is you want to add cross sections. You can do that on the plan or on the profile. To do a cross section, usually what I'll do is draw a line and then a little arrow to indicate which way I'm looking when I'm drawing that cross section. So if I'm looking that direction, and then over here, I can draw that it kind of looks like that. So you'll want to draw what that cross section is, though you took a slice and you're looking at it straight down the passage in that direction. Okay, so that's it on the plan view. Now let's look at profile and how you draw that. So now we're going to be using these numbers right here. So first we have from y21 to y22 is 32 and negative 34. So to do the profile, what you're going to do is look at these numbers that are underneath. They're on this part of the protractor rather than this part. So there I've got 0 to 90 and 0 to negative 90. So the first one is plus 32 is the foresight, which we're drawing, y21 to y22. So let's dial it over to plus 32. There we go. And now this time, you're going to have the north arrow facing horizontally instead of vertically. And then this angle right here would be your angle. So I'm going to we'll draw it down here. We'll start with, let's see, this is y21. So we'll put y21 because the passage is sort of trending that direction. And what we're going to be doing is sort of a hybrid between extended profile and a projected profile. The extended profile is basically, I draw this line exact length and then this line, so it's like you took this and stretched it out. The other one you can say, this actually eventually comes over here and then it connects right back in there. So I'm going to draw it, it's a little more projected. Projected is like if you took this, lifted it up and turned it and you're looking straight sideways at it, that's more of a projected profile, which is really hard sometimes to draw inside of a cave. So a lot of times people just stick to, I draw this line and then I show what it would look like from the side. There's no real like right or wrong answer as to which one you should be doing. So I would say that in most cases you just want to stick with the extended profile where you stretch that out because it's just easier to do, and then depending on if it's a very complex cave, then they may not want to project it from this angle, they might want to look from this other angle. So as long as you've got the cross sections and the extended profile, then that should give the cartographer everything that they need to put that together. Okay, so let's go ahead and we will draw, I'm going to draw a little bit of both just so you can see how this might work. So the first thing, we've got y21 to y22 is 8 feet at 32 degrees. So we've already dialed in our 32 right there. And make sure that that is lined up horizontally with those lines. And this is now represents 32 degrees. So let's come down here. I drew my line. And it's going to be 8 feet long. Now I don't have to do any kind of, if I'm not doing a true projected profile, these don't need to shorten at all, like I did before when it's like, oh, this is 45 degrees, so I need to shorten the line. For the profile, you don't really need to worry about that, but sometimes what I'll do is fudge it a little bit, especially with where this has got a loop, and I'm drawing it all together as one. Yeah, it's that for this one area, I might do a little bit of that projecting. So let's start. We've got y21, and it's 32 degrees, 8 feet. So we're going to go 2, 4, 6, 8. There we go. So that basically came up, and then it goes over to, let's see, 6 feet at 53 degrees. So let's change this now to 53. There we go. So then it went suddenly up, and we will go 6, 2, 4, 6.6-ish. Okay, and then we're going to go from 23 to 24 is 5.9 at 21. So let's adjust that to 21. There we go. Lay that out, make sure it's aligned, and 5.9 feet. 2, 4, 6. Okay, now let me see if I can remember what this looked like in the cave. So that went to there, that goes up, okay. All right, so from what I remember, there was like a little thing right there. And again, like with this, I can use the up and down. So on Y22, it was passage, let's see, that's Y21, Y22. So passage was up and down was 2.5, so the floor is right about there. And then on this one, 5 feet up, so 2, 4, 5, and then down. There's actually a notch there, so the floor was like, it was on this like fin, and then the floor was about 4 feet down, so right about there. I'm going to draw the little fin, and let's go ahead and like kind of sketch this out. So that went like that, and then it came down, and then that sort of rolled down to right about there, and then this was tight, and then it suddenly opened up and went up somehow, and then this went back, and that's good for now. So that's sort of what the passage looked like. Okay, let's go. So the next one, we've got 23. Let's make sure we label these now that we've got the passage. So we got Y21, Y22, Y23, Y, and actually I'm going to do Y24 right there. It's not getting in my way. Okay, let's see. All right, so now Y23 went to Y23A, 12.9 feet, 44 degrees. Now here's the interesting thing, like the survey is going this way, but this one actually veered off and went over this direction. So we're gonna be doing something a little funky here. Yeah, let's do that. So 23 to 24, we got 44 degrees. So let's dial in 44 right there on the inclination. Lay this down. Well, now like I want it to go that way, not that way. So what I can do is actually turn this to a negative 44. And now we'll put it down there. But now instead of drawing this direction, I'm going to draw it that direction. And this is 44 degrees up, because it just depends on the trend. If I go that way, it's 44 down. This way is 44 up. I'm going to do it from this station right here. And the distance was 12.9 feet. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12-ish. There we go. And then let's go from 23A to 23B is 10 feet at 16. So I think this also is continuing off that direction. So we're going to do 10 feet at 16. We're going to do negative 16 on the protractor here because we want to go in that way and not that way. There we go, 16 degrees. Push that down. And what was the distance? 10.8 feet. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And that was our terminal shot. So this is probably actually messed up. That should be more of a loopy thing over there, and then this goes off. I think, yeah. Let's see, 23A to 23B. Yeah, this actually should have been over here when I was drawing it. I made a mistake, so I would have to erase that because this is 23A. This should be going from there. So that I'm not going to erase it because you get the idea. I just accidentally picked the wrong station. But you get the point on what you need to do. Okay, so, and that's because I wasn't paying attention, and that happens sometimes. So, okay, so this goes up to right about there. Let's take a look at our, let's see, this is 23A, has a up of 0 and a down of 3. So this actually needs to be down about 3 feet right there. So draw that, and then from what I remember, I mean, I could draw left, right, up, down. Might as well, yes, 1.5 up, 1.5 down, so it just sort of slopes back to right about there, and then that was the terminal shot, and this comes down, and it hits the ceiling, and then this goes up. Okay, now we need the survey to head back over this direction. So from 23A to 23C, it's a tiny little, that was a fudge shot that was like right there, so it's super tiny small. And then from that one, we go, let's see, 29 feet at 6 degrees, okay? Now we're going back that direction, so let's make sure we've got, since this is a positive number, we're gonna do a positive on this side, and we want it that direction. So let's see, 6 degrees, which is almost flat, just a little bit up. And make sure that's lined up right. And what was it, 29 feet? So we're going, let's find an even number. Let's find that 1 there. Okay, so up just a little, and we're going 20. Oh, wait, dang it, where's that 2? Right there, 22, 4, 6, 8, 9. 29. And this, from what I remember, went something like that. It goes up, and this kind of turns into a really tight, nasty. And this was a dome, came down, and went like that. Okay, and there we go. So now I'm just gonna add in, there's some bunch of stalactites up here. We'll just draw those stalactites on there. There was a couple of little stalagmites here. Draw those in. Generally, you're not drawing detail that you see on the wall unless it's something that's prominent. Maybe it's like it's all stone back here. So draw a rock symbol if I want to. There are some stalactites right there. And then I need to make sure I label my stations. I don't want to forget to do that. So 23, and then 23 to 23. A/C, I believe. Y23B, and Y23D. And there we go. So if this was a more simple cave and it was just a single passage going along, then instead of going back this direction, this positive number would continue off here and everything would continue in this direction. It would just keep going. Even if the cave veered off and came towards me, like you can see here, it's actually taking a sharp turn. But in the extended profile, I'm going to rotate this down here on the profile, and it's just going to continue along. So I'm basically just doing a cross section of what the passage looks like along this line. So what the ceiling does, and here the ceiling goes up, comes down, gets tight, has stalactites. Over here it's super tight, and then it drops off a little pit thing. So that's it. You can also, if you wanted to draw on, like here we've got a lead going off, so I'm going to put a question mark. Or maybe if it's not a lead, maybe it just looks like it may continue into a room, but it's obviously nobody's ever fitting through this. Then I could put TT for too tight. And then there's a bunch of other symbols that you can add on there. But anyway, I think that gives you kind of the foundation that you need to begin sketching. And yeah, hopefully this will, I would encourage you, don't worry about being perfect. If you have 5 people surveying, then all 5 of them are going to have different looking maps, slightly different. So just do the best you can, get out there and give it a try, and that's the only way you're going to learn.